This is the Get Savvy Show, brought to you by the Reluctant Leader Academy. I'm your host, Mark Terrell, and on each episode, I'm going to help you get savvy to allow you and your business to grow. We'll be focusing on the three elements that lead to business success: your mindset, your processes, and your skills. Hello and welcome to this edition of the Get Savvy Show from the Reluctant Leader Academy. I'm Mark Terrell, I'm your host, and today we are going to do something a bit different actually, something that we haven't really looked at. We talk a lot about motivation and leadership skills, but this is about protecting our futures and how we go about that, and the legalities about it, and actually looking at things maybe a little bit different to how you maybe have thought about how you can do those things. So today I'm joined by Ben Mason from Kinherit, and we're going to talk about wills and all the other things around making sure that those things that you need to put in place for the future are put in place, because sometimes we just put them off for far too long, don't we? So let's bring Ben in to join us. Afternoon, Ben.
Hi.
Ben, thanks for giving up your time today to talk about this stuff. But before we get stuck into the topic, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Ben Mason, CEO of Kinherit. I've been involved in death now for nearly 15 years. Much like Reluctant Leader, it's the reluctant purchase. It really is. I joke that selling ice creams is way easier than selling end-of-life planning, because people want to buy ice creams. They need end-of-life planning. I know some people believe they need an ice cream, but you get my point. And I think for me, it's important to understand that what we do is really important, but it's really important that we understand that most people don't want to talk about it. There is a reluctance there. There are a lot of things about what we do that people aren't ready to engage with. So I like to think that what we're doing, I know you know what we do, the last 4 years we do it completely differently to everyone else in the way that we frame the conversation. And yeah, we'll come into all of that, but in essence, I run the show here, but thankfully I've got a lot of talented people that help me and keep the ship going in the right direction. So yeah, I'm sure we'll touch on leadership, as you say, and about motivation, because building the team has been a challenge and getting the right people in the right places. So loads of stuff to talk about.
Good stuff. Yeah, really looking forward to it. So before we get stuck into the topic, what we always do is look at what motivates you. Ben, these are your top three motivators as according to your motivational map. Top one is builder, which is the money drive, commercially focused. Builders tend to be. The star is about recognition, getting noticed. And thirdly, the director is actually wanting to be in control and have influence over others. So the question is, how do these show up in what you do and the role that you play in your business?
I think that the very natural thing is to see things like that and go, oh, that's critical of me, or seeking money, is that a bad thing, and seeks recognition. And I think as I've got older, maybe only in the last few years do I actually view them as really positive things and look at because of that, what does it mean I can do? So I really, really want to build Kinherit in the way that we're building it, me and the two other owners, in a way that builds the company to be a success, provides me, my family, and all of our families with a really good quality of life. But also, I take great pride in the fact that I'm bringing other people money. So we now employ, across the company, there's 14 of us. It's like we've just grown and grown. Mm-hmm. We've got 2 more starters coming on in July. We've got 2 more we're looking at in August. So I take great pride in the money you can bring other people as well from building that. And I think that's a really important thing to do. Mm-hmm. The start, well, yeah, it's no secret to anyone that spent time with me. I am not a wall flatterer. I am always front and centre, jazz hands. That's just the way I'm made. But with that comes the ability that I can then go out and be our voice for the company. I can go out and represent us. I do 2 CPD, 3 CPD webinars a week, every single week, promoting us to IFAs. And then the director, I think the power and influence over people is actually more of, I want to make sure that from the beginning we put the process in place. That's the only one that's a bit different. I would actually say the director bit for me is more about, can I control the process at the start? And I'll leave you to it. I don't. Let's just get it right at the very beginning, and then they can deliver. And that's what we've spent ages doing. So I'm actually not. I'm not a micromanager. I can't do it. Let's get it right at the very beginning. Let's get it in. Let's feedback anything that's wrong. We'll make a change. So that one I get it, but from the way I sort of use that one is actually a little bit different. It's more about getting it really right at the start.
I think that's really interesting. I think all the 9 motivators, you can see, you can pick something out that's negative about them. But the point is, it's how you use them in your business in a positive way. So, in my experience, the builder motivator tends to be not strong enough, so not commercially switched on, and so they make poor decisions commercially. They don't want recognition, so they don't market themselves. And they don't want to be in charge, so they don't take responsibility. So, that's the positive side of all those 3 things, that, it's about how you use them and how they show up, and in context, what they bring to the party. So there's no good or bad motivator. It's how it fits in, and in context, how it works for you as a business owner, or as in the role that you play. So that's really useful. Thank you for sharing that. And
what do you think? You've got to know me. We've known each other now for 5 years, probably.
Yeah.
How do you feel? Because I know that personally, I would have taken this a little bit differently 5 years ago. I would have found the negative side of it.
Yeah.
Whereas now I view the positives, and what do those 3 things have me do? What do you think about how that relates to me in your practice of working with me and knowing me?
Well, that's exactly what I've just said, really. It's good to see someone that is commercially focused, which is sadly lacking in a lot of people that have started a business. And that shows up in the way that you are, the way you've set up your business. And we're just going to obviously talk a bit more about what Kinherit and the values that you have, and the reason why you do the things you do them. And, recognition, there's nothing wrong with recognition for the right reasons. And it can easily be seen as a negative, that you're looking for attention, but every business needs attention, doesn't it? If you don't seek attention, then you're going to be the greatest business that ever existed, that nobody ever knew about. So you've got to be able to push yourself forward, get known on a personal level and for your business, and taking charge and being responsible. It comes with a business, doesn't it? And again, if you haven't got any desire to be in charge, and I put my hand up, it's my lowest motivator, and it's one that I have to be aware of. I've got to make sure that I step up and take responsibility, even though I don't particularly want to be in charge. So it's yes, you can take every motivator in some way as a negative, but what we've got to do is actually, what are the strengths that motivator brings to the party, and make full use of them.
And when you've worked, oh Christ, I switch around, I'm bloody interviewing you. When you've worked with people though, like that must be a big thing, like getting people to see that, not be defensive of it, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's embracing the positive things around that motivator that allows you to do things that, it's about wanting to do things, remember. It's not about whether you're able to do them. So wanting to do something is different than actually having the ability to do it. You can have the ability to do something and not want to do it. On vice versa, you might want to do something but not have the ability, but which comes first? And that comes back to... It's
interesting. I'd never thought about that. That's actually really... It's about the want as well as the actual ability, isn't it?
Yeah, and when you just talked about your team you've created, obviously your team needs skills, but actually you want people to want to do the role first, don't you? If they want to do it, they'll learn the skills. But if they've got the skills and they don't really want to do it, then which more important, want or having the ability to do it? I think you've got to want to do it first.
I'm going to make a note, because actually there's a really good example of a position we've really struggled to fill, that we've just filled, and she started 2 days ago, and I'll come into that one bit in a minute when we talk about a team, because that'll actually really link back to what you just said.
Yeah.
Because we found a really hard position to fill. Right.
Yeah, well, I mean, it'd be interesting to hear about that. But I think, first of all, let's talk about the topic that we're here to discuss today. It's about what you do. It's about securing your future, planning for the future, and like you say, nobody really wants to talk about it. So, how do you overcome that? And what's the ethos around Kinherit that's different to others?
Well, so the ethos around Kinherit is it's friction-free. So again, I come across sometimes as an absolute bore, and that you're allowed to defend me at that point, but I come across as an absolute bore.
I've allowed you on here on the show, so it can't be that boring, can it?
No, but my point is that I'm not. Before every solicitor in the world thinks I'm attacking them, I'm not. But what I think the whole legal profession needs to acknowledge, and they don't, is they're inaccessible.
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't want to go to a solicitor because they're worried about expense, they're worried about time, they're worried about complicated words, they're worried about sometimes feeling belittled. Now, I'm not saying that that is what all do. I'm just saying that we're very conscious from the clients that deal with us why they come to us. And it's because we're friction free. We're very easy to deal with. We were on Zoom and Teams before coronavirus had even been invented. That's not meant as a political term. That's just as in before we'd even heard of coronavirus. Mm-hmm. And so people have found that easy. They not having to have an appointment, go into town, go to the solicitor's office, do this, do that, worrying about what costs are we racking up. Our process is just very, very different. There's no cost for speaking with us. If you don't go ahead, we don't charge you anything. We'll give you all the advice for free. And if you go ahead with us and you want the documents created, great, that's when we earn our money. If not, we don't charge you. We obviously didn't do a good enough job to convert you and get you to use us. So we're just very different in removing that friction. And one of the big things is that we're qualified. And this is going to upset people, but I don't care. Would you, Mark, have someone come into your house and fit your boiler or service your boiler if they weren't gas safe registered?
No.
You wouldn't. Would you go to a financial advisor? Would you be allowed to go to a financial advisor for pension advice if they weren't regulated and qualified financial advisor? No. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of will writers that are not qualified. They are members of organisations. They're members of the will writers this or such and such. The only qualification, in my opinion, and if you look at the very top end of my sector, my industry that matters, is STEP. It's STEP, Site Trustee Estate Planners. Mm-hmm. That is the top end qualification. Every single member of my team that's clients facing has got that qualification. There is no exception. Mm-hmm. We just don't have them. And I think that what that gives people is that gives people the confidence that we're as qualified, if not more, than solicitors. And that we're not a will writer who's a one-man band without any qualifications, with no recourse should something go wrong. Mm-hmm. So it gives that confidence, but at the same time, it's very disarming and very friction-free and easy to deal with. Mm-hmm. And we found that's been such a big thing for us. Just make it easy for the customer.
Yeah,
I'm amazed every shop I go to, every service I buy, how hard they make it. It's why Amazon works. Amazon has not got we both play golf. There is a very, very limited range of golf stuff on Amazon. Nothing like American golf. Nothing like Tony Valentine's down in Chippenham, anywhere you might go. But they're easy to buy from. I go on there, I'll find a ball I want to use, and I just swipe buy now and it arrives in my house the next day. Mm-hmm. I don't have to go online, do different searches, register for this, register for that, untick this box, unclick that box. Oh, you're not at home? Well, we'll deliver it in 16 days' time, or you can pick it up from a depot 40 minutes from your house. Do you know what Amazon do? Mm-hmm. They just send it to my house the day I order it.
So what I'm hearing is that you're passionate about making things simple, and you mentioned friction-free, and it's really valid what you just said about going to any sort of legal, having any sort of legal advice is a bit scary. So the easier we can make it and more comfortable, the better or more likely people are actually going to do it. And it's interesting you talked about barriers there. There's a lot of barriers when it comes to what you do. And obviously one of the things you've got to do is make the process easy and break down the barriers so people feel comfortable about doing something that actually they probably would not do if they could get away with it without doing it.
Yeah, and there's an invisible barrier, which is actually a huge one. An invisible barrier is idiots who think they know what they're talking about, giving advice in bars or on Twitter. Oh my God, some of the nonsense that you see on Facebook and Twitter. I did a will and I did it. I got a will pack from WH Smith's and I just wrote it out and I got it and it cost me £12. Well, good, well done. How's that going to look when it's contested? Is it up to date? Have you put in there correct considerations for all the different assets? Have you put the type of gift that can actually be left in the way you want it to be left? Because actually you can't leave certain things in certain ways. They have to be left in certain structures and time with the way it's timed. Well, if it's done wrong, it's a failed gift. Or does that mean your family member just doesn't get it? Does that mean they get all of it at what? Look, I hear all this all the time. Just because some guy or some girl has written on Twitter, I did it this way. Great. Brilliant. If you really care about your family, just get it done properly and get it done once. It's
I was going to mention something else that you talk about, because obviously I've heard you talk a lot at network meetings. One of the things you actually take into account is the job of the executor and making their job easier, which is, touch wood, so far I haven't had to do it, but I'm sure there'll come a time when I'll have to. And I don't so I'm not really coming from a position of actually experiencing what it's like. But obviously you hear horror stories of people actually having to deal with people's estates that are not, it's not an easy job, is it? It's almost like giving somebody an unpaid job that's going to take them, give them sleepless nights. And feeling that they've got that responsibility that maybe they're not maybe qualified to do or even want to do.
Well, my joke is, if you really trust someone but also hate them, make them your executor. Because you've got to really trust them, but also you've got to really hate them. Because I'm doing it now. My father-in-law sadly passed away at Christmas. His estate is in that, just you can't quite see it in a box over there. I'm currently dealing with it. Busman's Holiday, brilliant. I know what I'm doing, and it's really hard. So his estate's a bit more complicated, blah, blah, blah. These things happen. Moving of house. Some things that had been moved to different addresses, some hadn't, so you've got to provide ID and move, blah, blah, all these type of things. But I know what I'm doing, and it's really tough. Now, what about the layman and laywoman that've got no idea? So if I wrote your will today, Mark, we would take the names and the email addresses and the addresses of your officers, and we, officers being an executor, trustee, guardian, power of attorney, all of these things, and we write to them at outset and say, Mark Terrell's done some end of life planning with us. He has taken a will, and although we can't tell you what's written in the will because that's private, we can tell you that he has requested that you be a executor, trustee, whatever it might be. And we say, to help you understand what that role entails, here is a short video explaining the role of an executor or trustee, guardian, attorney, whatever it might be. And then there's some bullet points on what they need to do and how they get in contact with us. And we send them that every year. We also inform them that we've got the Kin Vault, which contains all of your information on all of your utility bills, all your providers, all your bank account details, all your investments, pensions. So when they need to get any of that sorted, it's all in one place. We do that for free. Now, I know, no one else does it at all. They don't. Like, we spent nearly £2 million building our software. They don't do it. And we know they're not sending out those automated emails every single year and at the outset because of the amount of time and money it costs to build that process. But we've done that again because what do we want to be? Friction-free. We want to make it easy. I never want to hear, and this is the self-recognition bit, the recognition bit, but actually I don't care about getting recognised by other people. I just like being recognised by myself on this. I never care. I'll never give a toss about anyone else complimenting me. But personally, I never want to hear these words ever again. I didn't do a will because I didn't know how much it would cost. I didn't do a will because my father didn't do a will because he thought it was going to be really complicated. Didn't do a will because he couldn't find an appointment to get to a solicitor. My dad didn't like legal stuff. Those comments make me genuinely sad and upset me. And when I hear them, they knock me back for a few days. They really hurt me because I'm thinking that is a life I could have helped. That is a family I could have helped. One of my team were amazing. One of my team could have sorted that for them. But because they were worried about this, or the one I hear, my mate Dave said, well, your mate Dave, great guy, he's a postman, he's an electrician, he's a doctor, he's whatever. Do you know what he isn't? Qualified in end-of-life planning. When I want Dave's opinion on the extension and the lights, I'll go to Dave as an electrician. I don't go to Ben Mason for how to lay new cable. This is my point. Yes. But because of the way that wills are written, people tend to have this really weird fascination with getting free advice from their friends who have got no qualifications. Very odd.
I think most people that give advice have that as an irritant, that people seem to know everything. I mean, let's talk about leadership. I mean, everyone seems to have an opinion about leadership, think that they know about leadership, but it's not until you're actually in the position of leadership that you actually really know what it's all about. And
it changes, doesn't it? As the organisation gets bigger, my focus. So I don't now manage the team. We've got a sales director in here. A lot of you people watching this in Bristol know Adrian Edmonds. So Adrian's our sales director. He's in here doing that for us because I couldn't cope with that and the other things. So the leadership role changes with regards to how you grow and develop. So
I think it's interesting that you mentioned about your director motivator, and you like to sort of make it clear up front. So it's an ideal opportunity just to talk about the process that with regards to leadership is that there are 4 steps to any leadership sort of process. First of all, you've got to be clear and explicit up front what you're about, how you do things, and why you do them. So, and we all are either we'll all have areas of the process which we're strong at, and other areas that we're weaker at. So the next step is, once you've done that director bit, which I'm guessing that is your strength. The next bit is about coaching people and bringing people on board and allow people to grow. So that they can solve problems themselves and so they become not independent but codependent, sort of interdependent, I should say, with others. So they know how to be part of a team. The next step is the sort of a mentoring role. So you are then being there to support, and finally delegating. But what I find is a lot of people skip from directing, giving instructions, then straight to delegating. They don't do the middle bit. They don't do any coaching or mentoring.
I'm a big fan of that, Mark. Yeah.
So you might be picking up out of these 4 steps which ones you prefer, where you prefer to be, and this, that's it's a good thing to be aware of, because you can't be good at everything.
Well, I know what I'm good at. I'm good at getting at the very start and producing that process and working out what we want. I'm very good at not just delegating, but delegating for me, I'm going to change the word of that. Empowering. If I employ you to do something, I back you to do it. And do you know what? Don't circumvent that person and come to me with your problems, because I'm backing them to do it. Let's all work together there. So it's more of an empowerment. I tend to be much better in the mentoring on a personal side than a professional side. And I tend to be better on the coaching on a professional than on the personal. So coaching skills for a job, quite enjoy that, and I find that quite easy. Talking to people about themselves on a mentoring side, I find quite easy. Really, I find mentoring in the job can be a little bit difficult. It's not my strength, but it's definitely one of Adrian's absolute strengths. And coaching personal stuff, I tend to think a lot of the time we look for coaching when actually what we need is someone to tell us to pull ourselves together a little bit. And I don't mean that before anyone starts saying about mental health, I don't mean like that. I mean, for example, if someone's late 5 days in a row, are you going to bed early enough? Are you having distractions? Could you get up 10 minutes earlier? That's what I mean on the just getting yourself going. And look, I am back on my 30-day cleanse. I'm on day 1 of the 30-day cleanse because my last 30-day cleanse lasted 3 days. I don't need a coach to tell me. I like chocolate. I love cheese.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? So
we all like chocolate. But yeah,
that coaching stuff. Like, sometimes we just got to just hold ourselves accountable. So I've got green tea and a water. There's no Coke and there's no chocolate. Let's see how long it lasts, Mark.
Okay, fingers crossed on that. But I think it's interesting what you said there. But I think what we've got to remember when we're leading a team, we've got to be balanced in our support and challenge. So we don't want to be overly supportive because that creates a team that's dependent on us. We don't want to be overly challenging because that means that they don't come to us when they need us. So what you need is a balance between, well, what we call high challenge, high support. You're there for them, but you expect them to do their job, turn up on time, and obviously you call them out and hold them accountable when they don't. So it's getting that balance right. And we can flip from one to the other, too supportive and too challenging at different times as well.
I think the big thing that I think it's been, again, people listen to what I'm saying rather than read into it. I think there's a lot of people have talked a lot about mental health. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a lot of people who have jumped on bandwagons to promote their businesses.
Yeah.
But equally, I think we're not doing enough to help people who've got mental health issues.
Yeah.
And I've been in some really toxic work environments. The number one thing here at our firm, the number one thing is, how are you feeling? You all right?
Mm.
Do you need any help? Everything okay? And that's where, like, I make an effort every week to check in with the team. All senior management, like one of our things we discuss in our senior management team meetings every week is any cause of concern. Are we sure everyone's feeling okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because what I won't name the company, but I worked for one company and I worked there for many, many years. And there was none of that. There was a lot of talk about it, a lot of talk about, are you okay? A lot of talk about mental health, but equally, if you had a doctor's appointment and you had to leave early for 15 minutes, you'd have to take a half day's holiday. Well, the two don't marry up.
Yeah.
So if you've got a doctor's appointment here, just go, have a doctor's appointment. If you need to go, you need to do something with your car, that's fine, go and do that. We trust you to be adults and make up the time. You can't simultaneously talk about how you care about people and then treat them like children, give them no response, don't leave them the ability to make those decisions. So for me, I think one of the big things that is so important is just making sure that we take care of everyone. Yeah. And I know people use the word family and they throw it around, but I like to joke that we are a dysfunctional family that overall,
most teams are.
Yeah, but we care about each other, and we care about how the other person's feeling, and that is super important to me. Having come from a couple of toxic work environments across different sectors, I want to make sure that's really, really important in our team.
Yeah.
And we do a lot of due diligence in the interview process to how is that person going to fit in this team? Because if the team's really good at the moment, you don't need someone coming in and disrupting that.
Yeah. We've got Adrian Chase that's joined us. I've got to make a few comments, so I'll bring on the screen what he's. Firstly, he's made some comments about the obviously wills. I think the cost.
Chevy's here.
Yeah, Chevy Chase. Put many people off. Sorry, I think the cost puts many people off initially because they believe it's bound to be. Oh, it's gone again. Excuse me. Put that back. Bound to be expensive. Needs to be put to bed straight away. Otherwise, potential clients stop listening because they can't think past this. So. I guess that resonates with you, Ben.
Yeah, so the very first thing we say to every single client is, this whole process is free. We're going to give you our advice. We'll do the fact find, give you our advice, tell you everything we think you should do. You do not owe us a penny unless you choose for us to produce your legal documents. So we send a document summary with all the proposals. They can take that, and if they don't use us, they owe us nothing. So if you want free advice, we will do it for you, but we hope you will use us.
Yeah. Adrian's made a couple of other comments as well. Coaches should be drawing out the answers from within the person. Yes, absolutely.
Correct.
And most companies pay lip service to mental health, mainly because there is no expert there. Again,
brilliant.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, to give you an example of how far we went with this, we obviously, being an end-of-life planning company, Chevy, you'll understand people die. So what we did was we've actually engaged 2 different mental health experts to be on hand as counsellors for any of our team should they experience death of a client or a difficult situation. We've prepaid for a certain amount of sessions so that any of our team who need that mental health support, we've got that. because you're right, the expertise is limited, and if a company of 14, I can't really afford financially to bring someone in and do solely for well-being. So what we've done is we tried to outsource some of that. I won't say who the therapists are because things have got to be confidential, but it's something that was really important to us that we did that to say, look, if we're ever struggling, and also it's not just about if you lose a client, it's also if you just need them. We've got that support there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's again, breaking down barriers and making it easy. And obviously, if you've got to go to ask for something that then has to be paid for, whereas if there's something's already been paid for, it's breaking down those barriers. Sadly, Ben, we're running out of time. So I think before we sort of finish, I think it'd be a good idea if you want to tell those that have been listening and those that catch you on the replay where they can find you.
No, it's really simple. If you just search for me on LinkedIn, Benjamin Mason on LinkedIn, you can't miss me. I'm still bald. I've still got a beard, and I'm still a bit chubby in the LinkedIn photo. I think I'm wearing a grey blazer. So it's not very slimming. I should wear more black. Or go to kinherit.co.uk, or if you want, you can ring us. I have to check our own phone number because I don't know it. 0117 302 1888. That's 0117 302 1888. And if anyone who's watching this would like to use us, I'm happy to give your users a discount. So let's say a 10% discount. And what should we have? The Get Savvy Show.
Yeah, fantastic.
Get Savvy Show as a. So if you want to use us, come on board. Quote Get Savvy Show. You'll get a 10% discount. I'm going to have to ring Tom, our CTO, to program, and you'll be delighted I've done that. But yeah, that'll be there. So anyone watching this who wants to lead planning, Get Savvy Show as a user code, and you get 10% off.
Awesome.
But I'm always happy to talk to anyone or any questions. And if anyone ever wants to play golf with me and come and talk death, I'll also do that.
It just you were doing so well to that point that you're breaking down those barriers, and now you just suddenly put out the barriers.
Yeah.
Ben, it's been great to chat about something that is so important but so easily put on the back burner and ignored because we don't think it's important. But obviously these things are important. They creep up on us, and it's only when something happens, like any insurance, when we actually appreciate that when we're glad that we did something for our future. So again, thank you for your time, and hope to catch up with you soon in real life, hopefully.
Yeah, when we can see each other. Cheers,
Indeed.
Mark.
Cheers, Ben. Good stuff. Well, thank you, Ben, for his knowledge there. You can see that he's clearly passionate about what he does. There's obviously something about what he does that really sort of fires him up, and that's good to see. And obviously the values that he has come out in the way he does what he does. So get in touch with Ben if you have any questions about end of life stuff, wills, and all the other stuff that we need to put in place for the inevitability of us passing on. And obviously going back to motivation, if you are interested in what motivates you, I have created a mini course on that topic called How to Stay Energized at Work. You'll find it on my website, thereluctantleader.academy. Go to the courses page, and if you use LinkedIn as a coupon code, you'll save 25% on that course. Thank you for those that have joined us today. Anybody catches on replay, please leave any comments, and I'm sure myself or Ben will come back to you. But until the next episode of the Get Savvy Show, have a great day, and see you next time.